Okay, the shoe project. Before I get into my shoe project and start explaining the angles, I'll just talk about why even shoes and why shoes matter to me. So, the first shoe that I owned that mattered to me as a kid growing up were some just cowboy boots. You know, my parents got me cowboy boots when I was a kid. What I liked about them is when it was time to go somewhere, you just slip them on, and they felt and looked like to me like superhero shoes. You know, like some of you see in a comic book or something. So when I couldn't wear cowboy boots, I was wearing knee high socks. And so then the first pair of shoes that I got as a kid that I cared a lot about were these Ruse. And that's what you see in the animated GIF here. It was this sneaker that had a zipper pocket on it. And concept should be obvious there as like kangaroo pouch, you know. And the appeal there was you could put like your ice cream money in your shoe and not have to worry about running around playing and have your ice cream money fly out your pockets, and you could just, you know, have it in your shoe. It's kind of annoying with like quarters and stuff like that because you'd be making noise everywhere you went, but um, they were still dope shoes. I had some black ones. I don't have any pictures of them growing up as a kid, but I was in like Pennsylvania or something, and I was at with some other kids, and we were like goofing off at a abandoned train stop or something like that, like a old train station. And so there was like tar and stuff like that laying around, and I was standing in some tar, not paying attention. I was taking a piss or something like that, and I was standing too long in one spot, and my shoes sunk into the tar, and I ruined them. And so anyway, Ruse were like the first shoes that I was like kind of jonesing over. And then I came across Pumas. There's a picture of me and my sister when we were kids. My sister was in the ballet and stuff. And so, you know, when I'd have to go to her like performances and stuff, we'd have to dress up. And so I had these Pumas that my parents got me, man. And they were like these, I don't know, they were kind of like boots or something like that. You know, it was not a tennis shoe, but it wasn't really a boot. It was like a casual, you know, shoe of some sort. That was, you know, just like a suede. And I like the Puma, the fact that it had like an animal logo on it. Something about shoes and animals, because you had the Ruse, and then you had the, you know, you had the Pumas. And so I just like the appeal and the feel of the Puma, like that boot feel to it or whatever. And so I don't remember too many of the shoes that I had that stood out to me before that, you know, at that point, besides the obvious. Like I remember when Gangsta Nice came out, and that was like a big thing. And everyone at the time, I was in the South, in a small town called Augusta. And I remember like, it was just you know, it was right when NWA was kind of dropping, and you know, people in the South was, you know, that's when Banging and Little Rock and all that came out, you know, and it was like everybody was kind of emulating the whole West Coast movement. So anyway, the next shoe that just really like put shoes on the map to me were these Air Max. Now, what happened with the Air Max was I was a freshman in high school, so this was like way back. It was like, I can't remember the year. I'm bad at years. I think it was like 93, 94 or something like that. And I remember that was the thing. You wanted to have the shoes that like no one had in school. And this is when shoes started. It kind of like went in alignment with the whole like Fab Five, you know, Michigan movement. And I remember I played basketball, so I started getting into basketball and stuff. And I remember I had a friend Richard that was big into Michigan, and you know, Jalen Rose and the Fab Five and stuff. And so it was all about Nike and flights. And so I remember when it was time to go into freshman year, you know, I remember my mom and dad, like, it was time to get us clothes. And what I had been rocking before that was just Reeboks. My dad would always give me the same exact Reeboks every year. You know, it was economic efficient. It's like, just get them something new. You know, as a kid, you worry about things like fashion. We were too poor to afford to worry about those type of things. I shouldn't say poor. It was just, we weren't rich. You know what I mean? So I remember when I was a freshman, it was time to get some clothes, and it was time to pick some shoes. And my mom was the one who was like, you know, it's different now because they're getting older and what they wear matters. So I remember she was like, what kind of shoes you want? And as you know how kids are, you ask them what they want, and they were kind of scared. Like, we're like, I don't know what to say here because I know what I want, but I also know, as you know, growing up black, you're groomed to not ask for nothing. You know, like, don't ask for nothing because we'll give you what we can afford. So I remember I saw these Nikes, these Air Max Nikes, they're purple, and it was like the same Nikes I seen a picture of Ricky Bell from New Edition had these on. So when I saw them on the store, I was like, that's the ones I want right there. They was the dopest looking Nikes on the shelf. So I was like, I want those. And my dad was like, what? At the time, it was like $75, like the most money I'd ever spent on any article of clothing combined. I never had an outfit that added up to be $75, let alone just a pair of shoes. But my mom was like, this is important. You know, he's growing up, and what you wear is it matters because you get assessed and judged by other people, and it determines things like who's gonna be your friends, even though it's messed up. You know, you really should. But that's what happens as a kid. Everyone starts trying to determine what value means, etc. You know, it's like, you know, you use how you dress to express what kind of character you have, and then people can align with that. And so for me, it was, we wanted to be athletes, we wanted to be running backs, and whatever else we wanted to hoop. And so it was all about having the freshest gear. And this is where I went with Charlotte. I think the Charlotte Hornets had just come out, like they were an expansion team, and so they had those dope colors with the teal and the purple and stuff like that. And so I remember I picked these shoes. And I didn't think I would get them, but I got them. My mom was like, yeah, we get them, though. So here's a picture of me rocking them with my sister. As you can see, kind of like what the time frame was. My sister came up on some Feelers, and, she had the overall shorts. You see there with the strapped out. And then I had, like, a Georgetown Hornets outfit, and I remember getting these shoes. I cringe at these ankle socks. I hate ankle socks, man. But, I mean, you got to wear socks. I wear them where you can't see them. But anyway, those were the first shoes. So I was just like, yo, man. And I wore them things out. Like, I just wore them every day. So then, all of a sudden it was like, okay, it's time to get more shoes. It's like, what do you do? And I remember, of course, hip-hop heavily influenced. So I remember I was a big fan, still am, a big fan of Ice Cube. And I remember he had that line in Steady Mobbin' where he's like, jumped off the bed and put on my white Ewings. I think that's what he said. I just remember he said, yeah, throwing on some white Ewings. And so I remember I scored these Ewings. And what's weird is even now, if you go to the Ewing company, they don't make this particular Ewing. It had a strap that went around the top and around to the back, and it had Ewing's number on the back, 33. And these, man, like these were the first shoes that I got where I was like, man, I feel invincible because they were like a boot. So it was like you could run up and down the court, but then you could wear these. It was like they were all purpose. You could wear them with jeans. You could go in, what I mean? It was just like my favorite shoes. As you can see there in the back, these old posters. I had like a Patrick Ewing poster. It came from like an old Sports Illustrated for kids. Magazine, I had my DOS effects. I was trying to get into graffiti and stuff, and so I had my DOS effects poetry up there. So anyway, the Ewings were like the next thing, and I always had this thing for like straps and stuff, just so if there was like a gimmick in the shoe, like us to start with the Ruse. And then all of a sudden here with these Ewings with this crazy strap situation. So then, it was funny how fast you develop in a year. This was my freshman year of basketball, and we didn't have really a budget. As you can see, our outfits, dog, like our uniforms was whack because we just had no budget. We didn't have no money at the school really before, so everything was hand me down. So this was right again. I was kind of in alignment with the whole Detroit, Michigan college basketball scene when Big Shorts finally started kind of coming out. We didn't have big shorts, we had short shorts. So I refused. So there you see me rocking some red like spandex on to kind of cover up my legs, dog. So that was the deal. I got these Ewings, and I wore the Ewings out. They were the first shoes where I had where the bottoms were coming out. And so before this part of where I was growing up, I was in Texas at the time. Before that, I was living in Augusta, Arkansas, a small town in Augusta, about 2 hours away from Little Rock. Northeast from Little Rock. Anyway, and one of the things I got known for doing was because I was always with my grandfather going around working on houses. It's like I was in the 7th grade, and instead of doing 7th grade stuff, it was like I was running around with my grandfather, and I was basically being shown how to do things like tile roofs and fix plumbing and how to farm and garden and things like that. And so I was known to fix shoes. There was this dude named Lee Morris who went to school. He was older than me, and what happened was he stayed in the house that my grandfather owned and rented out. So I'd be there at the house fixing on the house, and Lee would see me, and he'd be like, man, you good at fixing stuff, can you fix my shoes? And my grandfather was always big on trying to teach me how to do things, and so he was like, there's an opportunity to, maybe make a small little business here, but I was never money-oriented. My whole thing was just understanding the skill set, like learning the skills. And just that opportunity, and of course, a chance to help out an upperclassman. You know what I mean? Like that's a big deal. You know what I mean? It's like to be valued in their eyes. Like, yeah, I need you. Can you help me? So Lee was like, yeah. And Lee was like a star athlete at the school. So I was like, yeah, anything. So I remember he had gave me some flights that he had that was peeling, and so I learned how to, fix the shoe. But I didn't think nothing of it. It just made me like shoes even more. So I was in the South, then I moved to Texas, and then that's when I got into these Ewings. And then in that same year, I know it's going to probably be hard to believe, but there's a picture of me there. This is the same year. That's the same year, dog. Like, well, actually, this was more like the 8th grade right here. And then when I became a freshman, that's when this was right around the same time. The Air Max Ewings and these Air Raids I owned almost around the same time. I wore out the Ewings, wore out the Air Max. So the next thing was these Air Raids, and this is when Malcolm X the movie came out and stuff. And so you know, I had like a small growth spurt. We were working out like crazy, running all these drills, so I got in like somewhat of a shape, decent shape, and so it was time to get some new shoes, and I caught the Air Raids, and the Air Raids were legit. Like they were pretty tough. They had a tough rubbery. I think the idea at the time was like a street balling type shoe or something. So I remember the soles being pretty tough, like the toe, the black on the toe right up there. You see was like it had like I want to say a diamond pattern or something, but it was like tough, meant to take a beating, almost like they were cross trainers or something, but. So the Air Raids I liked a whole lot. It was and another aspect to the shoe was that you were getting a shoe that was rare, like a lot of people didn't have. And so I remember the Ewings were rare. I don't remember anyone else in school having Ewings. And I got those Ewings I think like in Hawaii or something crazy like that. And so but the Air Raids other people had. You know, it was like a handful of us had Air Raids, but it was like 3 of us. And so and it was a small school, so it wasn't a rare shoe by any means. But I loved them. I love again the straps. You know, and that straps seemed to be like a gimmick that I was into. The next shoe that I got that I liked a whole lot were these flights. Okay. And so here's like the next year, 10th grade year, all of a sudden I'm in Tucson, Arizona, of all places, which was a culture shock for me. You know, Texas was a big state, but I was in a small school in Austin, Texas. But then we moved to Tucson, which is even smaller, but I was in a big school. And so these were 2 good friends of mine. And in this picture, you don't really see a good shot of them, but those were some flights. Like, these were the Scottie Pippen flights, but they were, like, unofficially, like, his shoe. Like, I don't think they were named after him, but it was, like, for a while there, Scottie Pippen was, like, the sort of, like, spokesman almost for flights, like Nike flights, which was different from the whole Jordan thing. And so I remember these flights were dope because they were like a shoe within a shoe. It was like a white shoe and it had like a black sort of like outside part that wrapped around the rest of the shoe. And they just looked cool. They felt cool and everything. They felt like basketball shoes. They were meant to pivot in. You know what I mean? Like you could cross over real hard in them, etc. And so I liked the flights a whole lot. And then these were the shoes that basically set the standard for me. I was not a big Jordan head because again we didn't have a whole lot of money, and so it was like Jordans had too much. They got too much attention. I remember seeing articles. I mean, you know, seeing news reports where like people was getting shot and hurt and stuff like that, and it was just they were just highly coveted shoes. And I was like, I'm not getting Jordans. You know, I just didn't want to deal with it. It was too much of a status symbol thing that I didn't want. You know, I never was one to really have an ego or nothing, and I didn't want to be the dude that one came out stunning on everybody. So. Like the air Raids, you could say like, oh, he was trying to stunt it, but I wasn't. It was just because there was no shoe like the Air Raids when they came out. Like they had the X on it, all it was crazy. But then again, with straps and everything, these are called Air Barrage. I didn't even know that's what they were called at the time when I got them. I just remembered they reminded me a lot of the Ewings. Okay, and so they were like basically. I remember I would get made fun of. I was always being made fun of wearing these because they're like, why you like these space boots? That's what they call them. But to me, these Air Barrage were almost like the predecessor to the Jordan 13s, which are some of my favorite shoes, if not my favorite shoe, as far as design and how they feel and everything. They just had like the shoe sole pattern had like toes, what you would think of as toes on them or something. Like when you look at the 13s, which I'll talk about later, it's like even the designer was like, yeah, this was supposed to mimic like a paw, like a panther paw. Well, before that shoe, you know, was even on my map, these Air Barrage were, and the Air Barrage were dope because they have, as you can see here, a strap that went over the top of it, right here. And that strap almost gave like an extra layer of protection. I remember working on stuff and dropping things on my feet, and that extra, like I would only feel pain right where if anything hit my foot and it felt anywhere outside this patch and outside the toe, like basically this little sweet spot right here, I would feel that, but everything else was like protected. And then again, the shoe had just like a weird balance to it. Like they felt like mech's feet is the best way I can explain. Like if I was a mech, this is what a mech foot should look like. It had these edges on it that represented almost like toes or something, but not toes, but just sections of the shoe that would grip into the ground if you had to post up to do something like get ready to take off or something like that. And so these were like my favorite shoes. I absolutely destroyed these shoes, man. Love them to death. I would love to see these shoes come back, but that shoe is actually what spurred me to want to start making my own shoe. And so that is what it was all about. Like I remember looking up. Here, let's see real quick. We'll look up just for giggles. Let's see what we get. Barrage. Alright, yeah, so if you do a search for Nike Air Barrage, I think you see the year is 1995. I guess that's accurate. I thought it was earlier than that, but that makes sense. Like, that would be around the time I think I got them. And so as you can see, they had a pretty unique design to them, man. Like, most people would probably call them ugly because they're kind of busy, but I liked them. I liked the it would be the closest thing I could think to an Iron Man foot. You know what I mean? Like if you look how it's sectioned off, you know, these little white, like I said, not toes but like teeth. They almost remind me of elephant foot pads or something. But the shoe looked like it was just built for effectiveness. That's the best way I can explain them, man. I loved everything about the shoe. You can kind of see some of the Jordan 13 in it, you know what I mean, like these little sections here of rubber. So these were like my favorite shoes, hands down. The strap on top of them, you know, they weren't status symbol shoes. But you look these things up now, like if you could find like mint pairs, they're like mad expensive. It's strange to me because I didn't even know these were popular to anyone else or valuable to anyone else. But anyway, this is the shoe that basically started, you know, me being into shoes. And the thing is, I was not a quantity guy. It wasn't like I went and bought like 1,000 shoes. It was just that when I got shoes, I was like, I'm gonna get the shoe I want. And so, you know, I looked up Nike Air Barrage thinking I could find these on eBay or something, and you can't. So then I was like, man, how hard is it to make a shoe? Because then I was like, well, I'm gonna make a Nike Air Barrage. But then once I started looking into how you make shoes, I was like, well, why recreate something that was already there? Why not just try and make something, like really make a shoe that would mimic like what it was like to have a mech foot. You know what I mean? Like, what if I could design a robot with a mech foot, what would it look like? And that is the inspiration behind trying to make the shoes that I want to make. And so, you know, this is the beginning of the process. So anyway, you follow me along if you're interested in seeing how to make a shoe and you don't know what you're doing, because that's pretty much what I'm at right now. There's a fat shoe, dog. Look at that thing. I mean, I like the red ones. Let's talk about these real quick. I like the red ones, but man, like, and even the black and white ones was kind of alright. I would take the air off. You know, I don't need it again, I don't need it to be a billboard, but, you know, I just like those pads, dude. Those pads were dope. The shoe is kind of busy, I won't lie, but they were my favorite shoes growing up as a kid, dog. Love the shoes.